All right, so let's take a look at what's going on in this weekend. Biden, I guess, update of what's going on with this administration doing their thing. So one of the things we see here is interesting is there's a poll that was done. A majority of Democrats say the unvaccinated should be confined to home. This was done. Let's see, when did this come out? Oh, this came out last month. So very interesting. And it's more interesting than you think because the left is starting to kind of turn on itself. The left is kind of eating itself, imploding a little bit, and looking forward to kind of unveil some of that. So, by the way, if I hadn't already said so, links for everything that I go to are always going to be in the description. I try to make sure I say that every show. There's a lot of links. You can go check them out if you want to, but I do that because I want to make sure that I don't take things out of context and I don't mislead you. Again, talking about the difference between independent content creators and mainstream media, that's more than they do. Most of them will tell you that you have to get the news from them. They are the truth seekers, the truth deciders on what is and what isn't acceptable. Me, go read it, go find out, look behind me, double check on me. So let's go on. So again, here's where we're going to kind of see things shift a little bit on the left as far as how things are viewed, what things may actually mean, underlining ideas here. But in a poll, majority of Democrats say the unvaccinated should be confined to home. 1/3 of Americans say they haven't gotten the COVID-19 shot. Majority of Democrats say they should be confined at all times and or fined. Okay. A majority of Democrats say they'd support the unvaxxed being confined to their homes at all times, with 45% saying they should be confined to designated facilities and 55% support for fines. Look at Australia at what's going on. In fact, I saw a video earlier. Look at Canada, what's going on. There are camps being set up, hotels, resorts, whatever you want to call it, being set up for the potential of putting the unvaxxed away in these places. Australia's already doing it. So you can't say that it's a conspiracy theory. It's happening. It's happening already in Australia. This isn't unknown. It's out there. You can go see it, right? And they're still building them. And I think I heard an update. They've got talks of them going through 2024 and building them. So there's something to it. Things are lasting longer. They're going to keep stretching this COVID-19 out as much as they can. And it's very scary that Democrats in this country are okay with confining unvaccinated people to a certain location or fining them. They didn't want to, it's two words that kind of similar there. It's very, very scary, especially again, given our past, given the topic of whoopee and, the Holocaust and everything that just recently came up. I know Gina Carano got in hot water and she lost her job because she said that's how they started everything, was getting everybody to turn on their neighbors. Well, it's happening again. It's happening now. Democrats are turning on Republicans, vaccinated on unvaccinated. Racism. We talked about how racism is a simple wedge to open up those hurtful wounds. So you got white turn against black and up, down, left, right, whatever. Everyone can turn against everyone. You just got to have that right push, that right momentum, and a ringleader. And we've got several that are pushing for this. Let's keep reading. CNN President Jeff Zucker resigns after failing to disclose relationship with colleague. This decision came after he was asked about a consensual relationship with my closest, these are his quotes, with my closest colleague, as part of an investigation into former CNN anchor Chris Cuomo. Jeff Zucker announced his resignation as the president of CNN on Wednesday, telling employees that he was required to disclose a relationship with a close colleague, but had failed to do so. In a company-wide email, Zucker said he would be stepping down after 9 years. The decision came after he was asked about a consensual relationship with my closest colleague as part of an investigation into former CNN anchor Chris Cuomo. The email was tweeted by CNN media correspondent Brian Stelter. I acknowledge the relationship evolved in recent years, Zucker said. I was required to disclose it when it began, but I didn't. I was wrong. As a result, I am resigning today. So Brian always jumps on the bandwagon whenever somebody's getting fired or resigning, man, he is one of the first to post about it. I think he wants the job. And if it gets him off of the camera, that might not be a bad thing. But look here. We're going to look at who this is that he's having the relationship with. But I'm going to go ahead and say that this is just the beginning. And this is BS. Because the president, CEO, whatever, of CNN, this huge network, is not going to resign because he got busted having a consensual relationship with somebody and didn't disclose. That's not why he's leaving. If you think it is, again, you're allowing the media to manipulate your free thinking. You're allowing them to manipulate, truth. I'm telling you, I'm calling it right now. There's going to be more to this story. We just got to give it time to play out. And ideally, by him leaving, that doesn't stop them digging. Hopefully they'll keep digging and disclose some more stuff. So you got Cuomo, you got another producer. Now you got the CEO, president of CNN, stepping away. They're just imploding over there with everything going on. It's not looking too good for them. And I'm hoping they're going to find out more about how they've manipulated content and information and whatnot over the last several years. Oops. All right, let's go over here. All right, so who is Allison Gollust, CNN executive in secret relationship with Jeff Zucker? All right, so that's the one that's being accused of it. So this is very interesting and very telling too. So CNN executives who's allegedly been in a secret relationship with Jeff Zucker for years is a longtime public relations specialist who spent her career working in television. Zucker, 56, announced he was retiring from the network Wednesday morning after he failed to disclose his relationship with Gollust to CNN and said it came to light during the station's probe into Chris Cuomo. People always resign and whatnot, when they get busted. They always feel bad about it when they get busted. They don't feel bad about it otherwise, usually. Zucker, 56, announced he was retiring from the network Wednesday morning, yada, yada, yada. Gollust, 49, excuse me. Ooh, ladies, I'm so sorry. Gollust, 49, claims she and Zucker had long been friends, but their relationship changed amid the pandemic, a claim CNN insiders blasted as a bold-faced lie. See, they are imploding on themselves. CNN insiders said this. All right, here's everything we know about Gollust. A professional background. I won't go too far, but you're going to get the point here in a second. Gollust got her start as a news anchor, reporter, and producer in Denver before moving to the Big Apple and hitting it big with NBC News, according to her bio on CNN. She started at the network's corporate communications office in 1996, and the following year was named senior publicist for Today. At the time, Zucker was executive producer of the ratings juggernaut, and the two worked hand in hand to bring attention to the show. Katie Couric wrote in her blistering tell-all going there. As Zucker was promoted to NBC Entertainment's president, Gollust continued to climb the corporate ladder in the network's public relations department. With successive promotions, Gollust added responsibility for communication efforts supporting NBC News, MSNBC, CNBC, and the Weather Channel, and signature programs including NBC Nightly News, Dateline, Meet the Press, Gollust, CNN Bio States. Here we go. She rose to become NBC Universal's executive vice president of corporate communications, but left around the same time Zucker did when Comcast purchased the network. Gollust briefly left the TV world behind in 2012 for a stint as former Governor Andrew Cuomo's communications director. In a statement at the time, the disgraced politician called her a consummate professional who has a wealth of experience in communications and management. Just 4 months later, Zucker tapped Gollust to become CNN's senior vice president of communications at CNN, about a month after he became president of CNN Worldwide. That October, Gollust was promoted to chief marketing officer at CNN and later became an executive vice president at the network. But it's not clear when that promotion happened. It goes on. There's more to it. But you understand. So they're digging up dirt on Cuomo, right? Right now, they're digging up dirt on Cuomo, Chris Cuomo at CNN, and how he, disgraced the network by covering for his brother and how the network allowed him to do so, and things that are going on there. Well, here's a chick that worked for Andrew Cuomo directly, working for CNN. So you see that there have been ties, will be ties forever with politicians and the news media with the politicians. It's a never ending cycle. These people are all intertwined with one another. Okay. So when we say that the mainstream media is, left leaning or right leaning, manipulative, whatever, it's 100% true, because it's either left leaning politicians that get jobs with them or right leaning politicians that get jobs with them. And they do exactly what they did before they became a news anchor, correspondent, advisor, whatever you want to call it. So we see here, she carries that baggage with her. Let's see. Talked about this before. Patton Oswalt turns rat against Dave Chappelle. Oswalt betrayed a friend of 34 years because he was scared by the antics of a handful of crap-flinging baboons on the internet. This is from nationalreview.com. That's hilarious, the way they worded that. First of all, this dude right here, Dave Chappelle, one of the funniest comedians of all time, if not the greatest of all time. The GOAT. Patton Oswalt. Looks like something I had removed off my side one time. Just a little dangly, little bit of flesh that was just extra. Yeah, I've never considered him funny. Didn't think he was that great in anything he's ever been in. And, yeah, that really hurt. What I've mentioned before that I'm a filmmaker and I do a lot of the writing and directing and stuff like that. One of my favorite things to write is about betrayal. Whether it's your family member betraying you, like your brother turned his back on you, or your wife did this or that, or, your parents or whatever, someone close to you hurting you, betraying you or whatever, because I think that hurt and that deceit, that whatever, that is a deeper cut than if a stranger were to do something to you. I think it cuts so deep. There's so much more to it. And seeing stuff like this, I just am, in my messed up little head, it really triggers me going like, wow, that's gotta be a piece of crap. Right. And Patton Oswalt is definitely that. He wants to keep working. He knows he's, a little bitch. And, he would just write an apology letter and post it after just taking a picture with a friend of 34 years. That is a lowly little bitch. And that sucks, man. That sucks. And I know Dave Chappelle probably couldn't care less. He probably may even understand why Oswalt had to do it there. But at the same time, man, I feel bad for anybody who has a friend like that. I'd rather not even know somebody like that than them to be my friend and turn around and do something like that. It's just terrible. But why did he do it? He did it because he knew that the SJW mob, the crazy left, was going to come after him. It's not the right canceling people for doing stuff. They cancel by, not spending money somewhere. Like Carhartt was one we talked about before. Carhartt's making vaccines mandatory. And so a lot of people saying, well, we're not going to spend money there. That's how they can protest. And that's not canceling them. That's just saying, hey, I'm not going to support you if you're doing something I don't like. They're not writing letters to, Netflix and whatever, trying to get their comedian they just like fired. They're not trying to, destroy them, their career and everything on Twitter. They're not digging up dirt on people. That's something that the left does almost exclusively. They're really good at it when they want to be. And, he knew that he was in line to get that kind of pushback. So he tucked his tail between his legs and, ditched out on his friend. And, man, that's pretty low. That's pretty low. All right. Who else we got? In Variety, we got, Peter Dinklage. Peter Dinklage blasts Disney Snow White remake. A effing backwards story about dwarves. If you hadn't already heard about this, allegedly Disney in all their SJW glory is trying to diversify and be inclusive and have a Snow White who has a very detailed description of what she looks like, have a Snow White of a different race and or ethnicity or whatever you want to call it. Again, the race thing is on my head because of Whoopi. It says Disney's slate of live action remakes has included Cinderella, The Jungle Book, and Beauty and the Beast, and coming soon is Marv Webb's live-action reimagining of Snow White and Seven Dwarfs. Webb, best known for helming 500 Days of Summer and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man films, has cast West Side Story breakout Rachel Zegler in the title role, and Gal Gadot as the villainous evil queen. So you see, they're changing up the ethnicity of Snow White. What we're going to see is that's not enough. That's not enough. It's never enough, right? So not everyone is too thrilled with the idea of remaking Snow White, most notably Peter Dinklage. The Emmy winner guested on Mark Maron's WTF podcast this week and criticized remaking Snow White due to the fairy tale's effing backwards depiction of dwarfs. There's a lot of hypocrisy going on, Dinklage said. Literally no offense to anyone, but I was a little taken aback when they were very proud to cast a Latina actress as Snow White. But you're still telling the story of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Take a step back and look at what you're doing right there. It makes no sense to me. And there's more to it. But yeah, not woke enough. They got a Snow White of a different complexion, different color, but they're still doing the dwarfs. I think what is interesting in this regards is kind of like Whoopi Goldberg not understanding different races like that, where she's thinking, very fundamental black, white, Asian, whatever, maybe. Where she says in one of the, I think it was with Colbert, she says, she can see the differences in races. I think what's needs to be understood about this is there's animals that talk and make dresses and do all kinds of things in these old school Disney cartoon films. And the dwarves are not meant to be the same kind of dwarfs that were what we call, little people dwarfs today. It's a different telling of it. I don't think there's anything ill intended. And if we're going to continue to go back and just rewrite everything, we're never going to please a certain group of people. And everyone's going to end up suffering because of it. So good old Peter Dinklage does not speak on behalf of everyone. In fact, if we look right here, from Newsweek, it says dwarf actors label Peter Dinklage's Snow White criticism as selfish. Peter Dinklage was called selfish and hypocritical by fellow actors with dwarfism after he spoke out against a planned live-action remake of Disney's classic Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. During an appearance on Mark Maron's, we were talked about that. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah. You're progressive in one way, but then you're still making the effing backward story about seven dwarfs living in a cave together. Whatever you're doing, man, have I done nothing to advance the cause from my soapbox? He goes on, says, in response to the criticism, Disney said in a statement that the planned movie would be updated version of the original 1937 film. We're taking a different approach with these seven characters and have been consulting with members of the dwarfism community. Read a statement from the studio. We look forward to sharing more as the film heads into production after a lengthy development period. I saw an interview with someone else who is a dwarf or dwarfism little person. And he was really bummed out about it. He's like, this is taking jobs away. I mean, these roles were written for us, and it's taking jobs away from us, from me, from other actors that are out there that have the dwarfism, that are little people or whatever you want to call it. But I don't know, but Peter Dinklage seems to be the end all be all as far as this conversation goes. And at least that's how the Disney and the media may be looking at it, but others are speaking up and speaking out. So, good for them. What else we got? All right. On legal insurrection, here's an article. It says Bill Maher, the party of FDR and JFK, is turning into the party of LOL and WTF. Democrats have become a parody of themselves, just making rules to make rules because it makes you feel like you're a better person. Dude. All right. So here's what I think happens. A lot of people have been talking about the two parties swapping, right? So the left and the right, they swapped, and now the left is the right and the right's left, conservatives, progressives, whatever. I think what's happened is the entire left to right scale has shifted to the left so much that the right, the people that were to the right, most of them are now considered moderate Republicans or even moderate Democrats, right? And now the ones that are in the far left are so far left that it's just mind-numbingly stupid, the things that are coming out of their mouths. And again, I'm not trying to hate on your party or you or whatever. Let the evidence speak for itself. AOC with her farting cows and all kinds of other stuff. But I'll continue to read this because Bill Maher's a lefty, right? He's a big time lefty. Let's see. I've often said that Bill Maher is like a broken clock that's right every few months. Now is one of those times. In his new rule monologue this weekend, he went after Democrats for not recognizing the fact that the insane radical left is dragging them down. His monologue is full of great lines. Maher begins by noting that former Bush White House Press Secretary Dana Perino recently suggested on Fox News that Democrats should consider running Maher for president because he understands what their party needs. Maher's making that point, or the point, that he has not changed, but the left has, and now some people on the right understand him better than they do. That's exactly what I was just saying about how it shifted. He does all of this to laughter and applause from his liberal audience. Let's see what he said. Let's get this straight. It's not me who's changed. It's the left. That is correct. Who is now made up of a small contingent who've gone mental and a large contingent who refuse to call them out for it. Yep. But I will. That's why I'm a hero at Fox these days, which shows just how much liberals have their head up their ass. Because if they really thought about it, they would have made me a hero on their media. But that can't happen in this ridiculous new era of mind-numbing partisanship, where if I keep it real about the nonsense in the Democratic Party, it makes me an instant hero to Republicans. This is very, very true. And so often Republicans or Democrats will latch on to somebody who is siding with them at the moment. It makes sense at the moment, and then ditch them the second they don't. Again, I think it's super, super important that we have these dialogues, these conversations, these constant contacts with people like Bill Maher, big time lefty, right? But not as big time as the current big time left. So hearing the sense and sensibility that this man has and recognizing that, I think it's great to sit down and have that conversation. He'd be great on Joe Rogan's show. Dear Lord, he'd be great on mine. That'll never happen. But having the kind of conversation, be like, when do you feel like the left you behind? Why do you think it is that the left doesn't call them out? And does the right plan to do anything about it? What do you think about it? Because I do think that the right, or those that are up there, for the most part, just sit back and let it happen. I don't see a lot. I see a lot of action on the left. I don't see a lot of action on the right. And I know they're the minority right now, but even when they're the majority, I don't see a whole lot going on. It's usually the left that's very, very active, and the right, while I do understand trying to maintain what we have, should be also more proactive in going after things that aren't working, just like the left is. Props to the left for going after what they want. Right needs to be a little bit more aggressive in all that. Let's see. One more. All right, so deadline. Joe Rogan gets support from Dwayne Johnson, Kevin James, and Jewel amid vaccine misinformation controversy. So here we see that not only has the left been eating the left, but now some people like Bill Maher, The Rock, Kevin James, others are starting to kind of speak up and say, you know what, maybe we've gone a little bit too far. Now, I'm not going to speak for them totally. Maher, I think I can speak for a little bit more because he's speaking out against the left in a more broad sense. These guys are coming out in support of Joe Rogan specifically, but I think if you sat down and had conversations with them, they would agree that the left is just going way too wild and crazy and not being held accountable. Let's take a look at this one. Amid the mounting pressure on Spotify over allegations of COVID misinformation presented on its Joe Rogan Experience podcast, the show's host made an apology of sorts. If I pissed you off, I'm sorry, and garnered support from Dwayne Johnson, Kevin James, Jewel, Jamie Kennedy, Tulsi Gabbard, yada, yada, yada. All those bold-faced names responded in the comments section of the Instagram video that Rogan posted Monday, in which he said he just likes to have interesting conversations with people that have differing opinions. Imagine that. But admitted he doesn't always get it right and promised to do better. Here's what I feel like the Joe Rogan experience is. It's like you're experiencing a conversation that Joe Rogan has with someone else. And I know that's exactly what it is, but hear me out. I feel like you walked in Joe Rogan's house. He told you, yeah, grab beer, pull up a chair, whatever you want to do. And then he goes back to this conversation he's having with somebody else. And he's not completely ignoring you, but he's having a conversation with somebody else. And you're hearing the entire conversation. You have the ability to decipher if any of that's relevant to you, if you want to jump in at any point in time, if you want to go, this guy's crazy. This guy's crazy. That one makes sense. Whatever. You have the ability to do that. Joe Rogan has had a huge array of folks on his show. Some that I agree with, some I don't. The ones I don't, sometimes they make points that I do. The ones that I do agree with, sometimes they make points that I don't. So it really is great to see that he is having conversations with everyone. CNN doesn't do it. Fox News does it a little bit more, I do believe, and I'm not simping for them, believe me. But as far as mainstream media goes, I see Fox inviting liberals, progressives, whatever, on significantly more than I see it on CNN, MSNBC, or anything like that. And they actually give them, now they may be critical of them, but they do give them an opportunity to speak their mind, you know, present their platform and everything like that. And I got to give them props for that, because that's a bold move, especially in a market that's dominated by the left that won't give the right the time of day. So here again, like I said, we see folks calling each other out and even, you know, standing up for each other. So the left is really in a little tizzy right now. Are people finally waking up to the insanity? What will they call out next? Men competing in women's sports, preferred pronouns, climate change being racist. Whatever it is, I'm glad to see that some are moving in the right direction. No pun intended, right direction. But it is encouraging to see that some people are starting to wake up.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out this clip from the Morning Mayhem. Remember, this is just a portion of the full show that comes out every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If you hadn't already, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the full shows or these tasty little nuggets.